So since tapping into this range that I set out previously, we've seen this move to the downside play out on ADA, where we ended up bottoming out at 87.81 cents. And then we saw this reversal to the upside, where we ended up topping off at 98.78 cents. And the interesting thing about this move to the upside is it looks to be weak, given that I am looking at for a WXY structure to have formed. And so it looks like this Y wave ended up truncating, meaning that the Y wave never tapped into its typical range, which is anywhere between 1 to 1.226 of the W wave. And so if I bring in the Fib tool and bring this to 90.11 cents, and so what you can see is the Y wave never tapped into its typical range between 1 to 1.226, and instead we ended up getting rejected at the 18.2% retracement level. And so we did meet the minimum requirement, meaning that the WXY structure is still valid, despite not tapping into this range here. And so it's possible that we see another push to the downside where we could actually breach past this local bottom at 87.81 cents, and that would then form a bigger WXY structure. And so what I'll be looking at for is for this WXY structure to have formed this fourth wave, and then shortly after we'll then see that reversal to the upside, where we can then begin to track this fifth wave, where this fifth wave has the potential to breach past the local top at around $1. And so if I drop down to the 5-minute chart and check to see what's taken place within this recent move to the downside. And so here what you can see is we ended up having a correction move that played out as opposed to an impulsive move, which tells me that we are not extremely bearish. And so if I bring in the Fib tool and bring this to the local top at 97.95 cents. And so that Y wave would typically reach anywhere between 1 to 1.226, and we just about extended beyond the 1.226 level, but we failed to retrace towards the 1.618 level, which tells me that this move here to the downside is not impulsive, but instead it's corrective. And then we had this corrective move to the upside that also played out made up of a WXY structure. So here we ended up reaching 94.97 cents. So if I bring this to the right position, and again, that Y wave would typically reach anywhere between 1 to 1.226. As you can see that we tapped into that range. And then so what I'm looking at for right now is for a bigger WXY structure to have formed, where this move here is the W wave, and this move here is the X wave, and then we have this Y wave that's currently playing out right now. And so if I bring in the Fib tool and check to see if this Y wave has tapped into its typical range, and here we ended up reaching 96.84 cents. And yeah, you can see that we ended up tapping into its typical range between 1 to 1.226, and we actually extended beyond the 1.226 level. And so it will be interesting to see if we see a further push to the downside. So very quickly, I'll check to see what's taking place within this Y wave, and it looks like we have a 5-wave structure that's actually forming within this Y wave. And so what I'm looking at for right now is for this here to be the wave 1, for this to be the wave 2, a wave 3, a wave 4, and a wave 5. And so the wave 5 would typically reach anywhere between 1.226 to 1.618 of the wave 4. So if I bring in the Fib tool and bring this to the local top at 92.82 cents, and so the wave 5 has the potential to reach anywhere between, so if I just remove this Fib tool here, so it has potential to reach anywhere between 90.44 cents to 90.99 cents. And so there is still a little bit more room to the downside. So if I just make sure that this is in the right position, like so. And so yeah, I'm looking at for maybe a final push to the downside, where maybe that move could actually play out in the next few minutes, where we could reach anywhere between around 90.52 cents to 90.88 cents. And then shortly after, I will be looking at for a bounce to the upside. So if I go back to the hourly chart, so what I'm looking at for right now is for a bigger WXY structure to form within this Y wave, where this WXY structure would form the W wave, and then we see a recovery to the upside to form the X wave, followed by a final push to the downside to complete that Y wave. And as far as this X wave goes, the X wave typically retraces anywhere between 50% to 18.2% of the wave W. And so we could see a bounce to the upside where ADA could potentially reach anywhere between. So assuming we reach this level here, we could see a bounce towards anywhere between 94.81 cents to 97.83 cents. And then shortly after, I will be looking at for that bigger move to the downside where we can then begin to track that wave Y. And so if I remove this and bring in the Fib tool, so the next key target for ADA would be this Y wave target. So if I bring this to 98.78 cents, and so it's possible that ADA could go as deep as anywhere between 82.15 cents to 85.09 cents. And then shortly after, I will be looking out for that reversal to the upside where we can then begin to track that wave 5. And so if I just make sure that this target is correct, and if I remove this and go on the 8-hour chart, and so what you can see is currently I'm looking out for this fifth wave to go slightly higher, given that I'm tracking a 5-hour structure. So what I'm looking out for right now is for this to be the wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and then a fan push to the upside to complete that fifth wave. And so even though short term we are slightly bearish, in the midterm and long term I'm bullish, and I'm looking at for ADA to breach past this local top at around $1. And for this structure to play out, what we need is for ADA to not breach past this level here, which is the wave 1 or the wave 2 origin at 76.01 cents, given that the wave 4 cannot cross this level here, otherwise this structure will then become invalidated. And so yeah, it's possible that we actually bounce off this 50 MA, or we could potentially wick below the 50 MA and then see that reversal to the upside where we can then begin to track the wave 5. And so of course that's something I'm going to be tracking in the days to come, and I'll keep you guys updated. And so yeah, that's just my update on Cardano ADA. Hopefully you found this useful, and if you did, then feel free to hit the like button, and if you're new, feel free to subscribe. Take it easy, people. Peace.